Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, Jack Fund Management. Snap dominated and operated cash flow positive in Q1 2020. This can mean that Snapchat, ticker symbol SNAP, heads in the right direction, towards a better balance sheet. Advertising remains an expanding market, expected to reach $311 billion in 2019, rising to $517.62 billion by 2023. This means within this advertising market, Snap takes up the second largest market, social media. Here we have a chart for the market for Snapchat. This shows the giant space of opportunity Snap has. We highlighted Snap on one of our videos as one to watch quite a while back. Then it had these blowout showings. Maybe you got in after we brought it up at a good price. Sadly, it may seem a bit rich now, as we had a fair value price target for Snap at around $14.34 going to 2021. BYND, Beyond Meat, has cemented itself as the leader in plant-based alternatives. This plant-centered meat market should grow to around $85 billion, at an annual growth rate of almost 30%, and BYND expects about 70% growth for 2020. Here we have a chart showing this likely means consistent, solid growth for BYND. Some may get nervous that BYND has higher prices. Yet this change in takeaway sales chart shows consumer loyalty and brand choice, and that BYND still jumps off shelves. This means BYND has strong demand, an important aspect for any business. This source and chart shows that plant-based products take up more and more growth by a pretty large percentage from 2019 likely onward. BYND has a first mover advantage. It has entered into human consciousness from earliest stages, and trend lines such as this Google graph show this explosion of fascination in plant-based ideas, search, and interest. This means BYND has components of first mover advantage, a valuable and critical part of any business. Take Netflix. Netflix had many parts of first mover advantages in the streaming space, bringing colossal success. This chart shows BYND spends plenty of revenue on R&D, research and development. This could lower costs, improve quality, keep it in a far superior competitive position. And strategic partnerships propel BYND forward. This means BYND can and will enter in more and more markets, expanding, like the Chinese market, through Starbucks, a giant in its own right. Here you can see many opportunities for plant-based options and BYND. This chart shows the sheer volume of capital input by investors. This means intense investor enthusiasm exists around these businesses. Furthermore, meat taxes the planet. Here this data indicates although plant-based meat still costs more to produce, it beats out on basically every other metric, and as we mentioned, R&D could tackle this. More and more spend a majority of their income on healthcare. This data sheds light on this fact. More and more cities, restaurants open up to and offer items like BYND. Easier access and offerings means easier trials, purchasing, good for any business. These charts show the availability and prevalence of this business and products. And here we have a chart evidencing more worldwide popularity and adoption. Younger generations say that many have tried its products, would keep doing so, and adopt it. This may even have somewhat to do with internet information sharing, as we will explore later. Even more positively surprising, businesses like BYND have captured the older generations too, as shown here. Many more health-conscious states coincide with the established presence data that BYND sent out. And here you can see a part of that. Many report reasons for interest in concepts like BYND. This list goes on and on, can reach many demographics. Some report a pointlessness in eating meat. Some agree that plant-based proteins have association with positive health effects. Some do it to weight manage, eat clean, i.e. less processed. Some feel nervousness about health problems, or have a passion for environmental issues. This graph shows data about environmental issues, as well as those other topics, and has a relation to BYND, Beyond Meat. Here we have more data showing this. This means this could play into a BYND global awareness uprising. Some polls show room to run for BYND. This chart shows a market of those unfamiliarized and untapped experience for this population. This means it evidences huge runway for growth, critical for businesses. Ultimately, global demand for meat increases. More economies can afford meat. Yet this earth cannot support such an outcome, and it simply just shows too much inefficiency. Meat replacement options can likely significantly overcome conventional meat walking forward, a powerful trend anyone would not like to get behind on. And here research shows this. This equates to a larger and larger global market by inevitability, with BYND and meat alternatives eating most of traditional meat's lunch. Statistics show that many triers of items like BYND come from a population entering more personal spend phases, namely youth. Adhering to this, many surveys show internet and more specifically social media has and keeps helping to influence a larger section of this market. More and more willing to try new things like BYND. And here we have a slide that shows this. This means more and more curious nations and people diving into this topic. More scholarly research gets done on the effects, positive and so on, of plant-based items. Some studies do actually show a connection with far more well-being. One such method could come from how plant-based burgers interact with the microbiome. Here you can see a huge jump in scholarly publications, with mentions and usage of terms like vegan, plant-based. This could play into how one reacts hormonally and through neurotransmitters. This could act as a business for social good, helping those with positive thinking, for those who have interest in investing in movements or businesses with some tie to movements like this. This stock, BYND, also remains in somewhat early days. For instance, if you invested $100 in a business like FedEx around its IPO early days, you would have about $24,000 now. And here's data that shows that. If you invested in Apple around its IPO, you would have $44,000. Netflix, $33,000. Often we get questions of, what could I do with just $100? Or investing only looks like an option for the wealthy. Turning $100 into $44,000 seems pretty amazing, and a good idea, an option to us and for you. This shows the wisdom and great power of investing, and investing in good earlier stage businesses with well-defined business models, one like BYND. That looks like a pretty good way to spend that $100 bill you may feel unsure of what to do with. Facebook stock FB still captures more than half of the entire internet, as you can see here. An audience project data ask showed that of all the socials, FB still came up on top of what people check multiple times a day. FB still checks a list of the channel that provides the highest ROI for companies. This chart shows that. This means more command on capital for ad space and utility, shareholder value. MAU's monthly active users remain astronomically high and growing for Facebook. We will point that out here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for returning. We feel happy to entertain and inform you about investing and finance. If you are new, thanks for checking us out. See you next time.